Salut Paul!
Bonjour Estelle! In our earlier lessons, we learned some super helpful everyday phrases.
Like how to ask someone where a place is using où est or où sont.
We also learned how to describe where a place is.
For example, le métro est à droite. The subway is on the right.
Or, les toilettes sont à gauche. The bathrooms are on the left.
And something I'm always happy to hear? La boulangerie est ici. The bakery is here.
Today, we're going to talk more about the sounds you hear in French, especially in that last example. La boulangerie est ici.
Yes, there's actually another way to say that. La boulangerie est ici. Notice the difference. Est ici and est ici.
Est ici.
Et is spelled E-S-T. But like with a lot of other French words, you don't normally pronounce the final letter, T. Instead, you just say et.
Unless the word that comes after est starts with a vowel. In that case, you do pronounce the final letter, like in est ici. This makes it roll off the tongue more easily.
Est ici.
Notice the difference again. Le restaurant est ici. Le restaurant est ici.
When the words are connected like this, it's called a liaison.
Sounds dangerous.
Well, at first it might seem scary figuring out when to use a liaison, but with practice, you'll get the hang of it.
Let's hear that liaison with est ici again from our French speakers.
Excusez-moi, où est le restaurant?
Le restaurant est ici.
Now, you give the not-so-dangerous liaison a try. Repeat after me. Est ici. Le restaurant est ici. Le café est ici. You can also use the liaison with sont ici.
That's right, like in les toilettes sont ici.
Listen for the difference. Without the liaison, les toilettes sont ici. And then with the liaison, les toilettes sont ici.
S'il vous plaît, où sont les toilettes?
Les toilettes sont ici.
Your turn again. Repeat after me. Sont ici. Les toilettes sont ici.
Let's hear a few more examples of the liaison in action.
Salut Étienne. Où est Julie?
Julie est ici.
Et où sont Alex et Charles?
Alex et Charles sont ici.
Ah oui.
Ready to try one more time? Repeat after me. Julie est ici. Alex et Charles sont ici.
Now you know what a liaison can sound like and some situations when it's used.
Not too dangerous after all, eh? We'll definitely talk about this more in our next lesson.
And we'll get plenty more practice. In our last lesson, we talked about a very common part of French, the liaison.
Liaison is another way of saying link or connection. For example, instead of saying Estelle est à la boulangerie, we link et and à with a liaison. Estelle est à la boulangerie.
Let's talk about other times when we can use a liaison.
Well, we can link et and à droite to say est à droite.
Or sont and à gauche to say sont à gauche. Hear the difference? Without the liaison, it's le restaurant est à gauche. But with the liaison, le restaurant est à gauche.
Excusez-moi, où est le restaurant?
Le restaurant est ici.
Et où sont les toilettes?
Les toilettes sont à droite.
Merci.
Now it's your turn to try it. Repeat after me. Et. Est à gauche. Le restaurant est à gauche. Sont à droite. Les toilettes sont à droite.
We've talked a lot about how to tell where something is. Now let's talk about how to tell what something is.
So, Paul, let's say a friend calls you up and invites you to eat at a place you've never heard of. You're really hungry, so you want a 4-course meal. And not just a café au lait, a coffee with milk.
So I need to know if I've just been invited to a restaurant or a cafe.
Yes, and hopefully your friend will tell you. C'est un restaurant.
C'est un restaurant. That means it is a restaurant.
Let's break that down. We already learned that est means is, and that the C sound at the beginning of c'est means it or that. So c'est means it is or that is, depending on the situation.
And if your friend says c'est un café, you can quickly think of an excuse, just as your stomach starts to growl.
If c'est is used at the beginning of a question, it can also mean is that, as in, is that a restaurant? C'est un restaurant?
Yes, and notice the liaison in c'est un restaurant and c'est un café.
C'est un restaurant. C'est un café.
Now let's hear some more from our French-speaking friends.
Salut Étienne. Tu vas où?
Je vais au Gaulois.
Au Gaulois? C'est un restaurant?
Non, c'est un café.
Let's get some more practice using the liaison. Repeat after me. C'est un. C'est un café. C'est un croissant. C'est un restaurant.
And of course, we can use the liaison before une too.
Like in c'est une pharmacie. That's a pharmacy.
Excusez-moi, où est la pharmacie?
La pharmacie est ici.
Oh, c'est une pharmacie?
Oui, monsieur.
Merci beaucoup, madame. Au revoir.
Did you get what happened?
A man wanted to know where the pharmacy was, but he was already at the pharmacy.
Everyone has days like that. Ready to practice some more now? This time with une. Repeat after me. C'est une. C'est une pharmacie. C'est une gare. C'est une pizza.
We got a lot of practice using the liaison with different words today.
And learned how to say that is or it is with c'est.
Super useful.
We'll get even more practice in our next lesson.
In our last lesson, we learned a useful new word. C'est.
Yes, which means it is or that is.
Salut Jacques. Tu vas où?
Je vais au Gaulois.
Au Gaulois?
Oui, c'est un restaurant.
Eh bien, bon appétit.
Merci.
Okay, so let's talk more about when we can use c'est.
Well, let's say you're walking to a restaurant with a friend. Your friend, maybe getting a little hungry and impatient, asks where the restaurant is.
He might ask, c'est ici le restaurant? Is the restaurant here? We can use c'est in a question to ask about almost anything.
Another example is C'est ici le cinéma? What are some ways to answer a question like C'est ici le cinéma?
Well, maybe the movie theater is actually on the right. You would say non, c'est à droite.
Or the left? Non, c'est à gauche.
Again, notice the liaison between c'est and à. C'est à droite.
Bonjour, c'est ici l'hôtel Le Manoir?
Non, c'est à droite.
Ah, merci. Au revoir.
Now you try it. Remember to pay attention to the liaison. Repeat after me. C'est ici. C'est à droite. C'est à gauche. So far, we've heard the liaison after et and son.
But you'll also hear it after words like un.
Usually, when you say un, as in un café, you don't pronounce the N. Un.
But when un is followed by a vowel sound, you do pronounce the N, like in un hôtel, a hotel.
Can you hear the difference? Un café. Un hôtel.
Hôtel starts with an H, but in French, the H is always silent, so you'll have to use the liaison. Un hôtel.
Another example is un hôpital, a hospital.
So how would you say it's a hospital? C'est un hôpital.
Or it's a hotel? C'est un hôtel.
And did you notice anything special about both of those examples?
There were actually two liaisons on c'est un
And on un hôtel and un hôpital.
c'est un hôtel.
C'est un hôpital.
Antoine, tu vas où?
Je vais au manoir.
Au manoir?
Oui, c'est un hôtel, à Paris.
Ready to try that double liaison? Repeat after me. Hôtel. Un hôtel. C'est un hôtel.
So what are some other situations when we could use c'est?
Maybe you call your friend and say that you're at JFK.
And they're totally confused because they have no idea what JFK is. Is it a cool new restaurant or maybe a nightclub?
Right, so you'd say c'est un aéroport.
And there's that double liaison again. C'est un aéroport.
Exactly. Now, let's hear from our French speakers again.
Oui,
Étienne, tu vas où?
je vais à Charles de Gaulle.
Charles de Gaulle?
Oui, c'est un aéroport, à Paris.
Are you ready? Repeat after me. Un aéroport. C'est un aéroport. We've learned a ton in these past couple of lessons,
Like when to use the liaison?
and how to tell what something is with c'est.
Now let's listen to a conversation that has everything we've learned in this skill.
Salut, tu vas où?
Je vais au Mercure.
Au Mercure? C'est un restaurant?
Non, c'est un hôtel.
Ah, c'est ici?
Oui, l'hôtel est à droite.
Ah oui, à bientôt.
Be sure to join us for our next lesson. À bientôt!
Au revoir!
We've talked a lot about the liaison in the past couple of lessons.
Let's listen to that liaison in action.
Je vais au Mercure.
Au Mercure? C'est un hôtel?
Non, c'est un restaurant.
Ah, c'est ici?
Oui, le restaurant est à droite.
Bon appétit!
All right, are you ready to have a conversation and practice using the liaison? Imagine you're heading to a lunch date at a restaurant called Le Manoir. It's in a part of the city you've never been to. After walking up and down the street a few times, you realize you can't find it.
Then you see a man walking by. Maybe he knows where to find the restaurant. Try to catch his attention. Say, "Excuse me, sir," in French. Parfait. Excusez-moi, monsieur.
The man stops and turns around.
Oui?
Remember, you're trying to find a restaurant called Le Manoir, and you know it's somewhere around here. Ask the man, "Is Le Manoir here?" in French. Parfait. Le manoir est ici? Since it's a pretty busy area, it might be good to give him a bit more information about Le Manoir. Say, "It's a restaurant," in French. Parfait. C'est un restaurant.
Ah oui, le manoir.
Sounds like the man has heard of Le Manoir, but you're still going to need directions to get there. Ask the man, "Where is Le Manoir?" in French. Excellent. Où est le manoir?
C'est là, à droite.
The man smiles and points to your right, à droite.
Well, you should probably head in that direction and find it, or you'll be late for your lunch date.
Right, but don't forget to thank the man for his time. Say, "Thank you, goodbye," in French. Bon travail. Merci. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Excellent. You found your way to Le Manoir and just in time. Bon appétit.